The town of Barnstable chooses to honor its war dead in many ways. To those men and women who have given the ultimate sacrifice, Barnstable has chosen to dedicate memorials in the 7 villages. Channel 18 has chosen to highlight a number of the memorials in our town. Edward Mott Oldfield was born in New York City, educated in Taunton, Massachusetts, and graduated from Barnstable High School with a class of 1951. His high school yearbook notes that he lost no time becoming acquainted, especially with the female population. Ed's favorite sport was swimming. Oldfield served on the Barnacle advertising staff. In 1953, his unit was defending the Iron Triangle of North Korea, just north of the 38th parallel, north of Seoul. Oldfield died 1 week before the final Chinese effort of the war, the Spring Offensive, which started on April 22, 1953. His body was returned to Barnstable, and he's buried with his parents in Mosswood Cemetery. The Taunton Gazette of Saturday, May 21, 1955, reports that over 900 people lined the streets of that city, renaming a square in honor of Oldfield. The memorial for Edward Mott Oldfield in the town of Barnstable is located at the intersection of Santuit Newtown Road and Old Kings Road in Cotuit.
Dennis Francis Thomas of West Barnstable died Friday, October 9, 1942, at Guadalcanal in the Solomon Islands. His 1st Marine Raider Battalion bore the brunt of a heavy enemy assault of 150 Japanese soldiers. And under the cover of smoke, automatic weapons, and hand grenades, Private First Class Dennis Thomas fought hand-to-hand combat against overwhelming hostile forces. Fighting desperately, Thomas refused to be dislodged from his post, and he died heroically. His fighting spirit and unyielding devotion to duty were in keeping with the highest traditions of the United States Naval Service. Private First Class Dennis Thomas was awarded the Navy Cross. He is buried in Honolulu. His memorial is at the intersection of Route 6A and Parker Road in West Barnstable. The town of Barnstable VFW post is named in his honor.
In Cotuit, quite near Elizabeth Lowell Park, is a memorial to Ralph B. Hoxy. Mr. Hoxy was born on February 13, 1893 in Cotuit. At the age of 24, he enrolled in the Naval Reserve Force in Boston. It was 1917, and he was called to active duty in April of that year. He was first assigned to duty at the headquarters in the 1st Naval District in Boston and later assigned to the USS Bonita, and was eventually promoted to Chief Machinist Mate. His duty station was in Chatham, protecting the mainland coast from the threat of German U-boats. On April 27, 1918, with his crew, while standing in the cockpit of patrol boat 610, other sailors were testing rockets on a flat nearby. One rocket was fired toward the harbor, but as it struck the water, it glanced and passed over the boat, striking Hoxy and killing him instantly. Ralph Bowman Hoxy Square is located at the intersection of Lowell Avenue and Putnam Avenue, Cotuit.
Chief Petty Officer Kevin A. Houston was 36 years old when he was killed in action on August 6, 2011, while in the service of the United States in Operation Enduring Freedom in Afghanistan. It was his 4th deployment. The helicopter in which Kevin was riding was shot down by enemy forces. 37 other people were killed. Kevin was a Navy SEAL and a graduate of Barnstable High School, class of 1994. His decorations included 2 Bronze Stars with the V device for Valor, the Purple Heart, the Marine Corps Commendation Medal, a Combat Action Medal, 2 Afghanistan Campaign Medals, and 3 Good Conduct Medals. Kevin Houston was the captain of the Barnstable High School football team, 1994. The memorial for Kevin A. Houston is located on the Hyannis Village Green.
Chester A. Cogswall was born in 1920 in Hyannis and joined the 343rd Fighter Squadron in January 1944. He was promoted to second lieutenant in April 1944. He was awarded 2 oak leaf clusters to the Air Medal, the Distinguished Flying Cross, and was promoted to the rank of captain. On his last mission of his second tour, his plane was shot down and he was captured by the burgomaster of a German town who shot Captain Cogswall and killed him. 2 Nazi officials were eventually tried and sentenced to death at the Nuremberg trials. The burgomaster was also executed. Chet Cogswall was the starting quarterback for Barnstable High School in 1935. Chosen as an All-Cape quarterback in 1936, was a 2-year starter in basketball and a 4-year starter in baseball. He is enshrined in the Red Raider Athletic Hall of Fame. His memorial is on West Main Street, across from Barnstable High School.
Air Force Captain Sherman Crocker was born and grew up on Prince Avenue in Marston's Mills. Sherman Crocker was the son of Barnstable County Sheriff Lachlan Crocker and a graduate of Barnstable High School. He was a student at Norwich University when he enlisted, and he received his wings as a second lieutenant. He was an instructor in Eddie Rickenbacker's famous 98th Fighter Squadron. Sherman Crocker helped support the landing at Omaha Beach on D-Day. He was awarded the Air Medal and 17 oak leaf clusters. He was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross. He flew in the Battle of the Bulge. He died on February 13, 1945, when his P-47 fighter bomber was hit by German anti-aircraft guns in the Rhineland. His body was recovered and returned for burial in the Marston's Mills Cemetery in 1948. His memorial boulder is located at the intersection of Route 28 and River Road in Marston's Mills.
PFC James K. Baker was killed August 13, 1953, when he was thrown from a truck while serving in occupied Germany. According to the notice of his death in the August 27, 1953 edition of Barnstable Patriot, it was his second stint in the armed services, having served in the U.S. Navy during World War II. He had been married less than a year to Dorothy Deganton of Geneva, New York, which is where he is buried. The family of Private James Baker lived in Marston's Mills. Baker grew up in Hyannis and had a very difficult life. In 1934, the family home burned to the ground, killing his mother and youngest brother. Other family members pitched in to raise him and his remaining brothers, and when he was old enough, he left Barnstable High School and joined the Navy. After serving in the Navy, he later joined the United States Army and was sent to Germany, where he died. His marker is at the intersection of Lovell's Lane and River Road.
Corporal Richard Elliott Sylvester served in the 21st Infantry Regiment, 24th Infantry Division in the Korean War. Richard Sylvester was born in Melrose, Massachusetts. He enlisted in the Navy during World War II and served as a seaman second class. He moved to Barnstable following his discharge and later enlisted as a corporal in the United States Army during the Korean War. He was killed in action on April 10, 1951, and is buried at Arlington National Cemetery. His memorial is located on Main Street at the intersection of Camp Street and was dedicated in 1954.
Sherman Square in the west end of Hyannis is dedicated to Paul Howland Sherman. Paul was born in Hyannis on October 16, 1895, and was inducted into the Army on September 8, 1917. He was eventually assigned to Company B, 1st Supply Train. He served in several engagements overseas. By the time of his death, he had reached the rank of corporal. Paul Howland Sherman died in a hospital of typhoid fever in April 1919. Sherman Square was dedicated in his honor at the intersection of Main and South Street, Hyannis, in 1947.
The son of Mary Julia Raposa and Manuel Raposa, Albert D Raposa was born in Mashpee, and he lived with his mother in Santuit. He enlisted in the Massachusetts National Guard in September 1940 and entered the United States Army in November. He attended gunnery school in Nevada and later in Michigan. He was on a routine flight on a light bomber from Cumberland, Pennsylvania Army Air Base when the plane crashed in Marion, Massachusetts, on the grounds of a wireless RCA station. At the time of his death, Sgt Albert Raposa left his mother, 3 sisters, 2 nieces, and 2 nephews. Sgt. Raposa's memorial is located at the intersection of Route 28 in Santuit, Newtown Road in Santuit.
The 4th soldier from the town of Barnstable who was killed in the Vietnam War was Specialist 4th Class Frederick Nickerson Curtis. Curtis, who was 20 years old, was a 1967 graduate of Barnstable High School. He was killed on the 28th of May, 1969. Curtis is a member of the Barnstable High School Athletic Hall of Fame. His funeral was held at the Osterville United Methodist Church. He's buried in Hillside Cemetery.
Lieutenant Commander Wallace Chesbro of Osterville graduated from Barnstable High School in the late 1920s, and he went on to study medicine at the University of Massachusetts, where he played football and sang in the chorus. He enlisted in the United States Navy and rose to the rank of lieutenant commander. He served on the USS Comfort, a hospital ship which evacuated wounded sailors and Marines from the Philippines, from Subic Bay and Guam, and they brought the wounded to California. On April 6, 1945, the USS Comfort was headed to Okinawa when she was struck by a Japanese kamikaze. 29 people on the ship were killed, including Lieutenant Commander Wallace Chesbro and 6 nurses. 48 others were wounded. After temporary repairs were made, the Comfort sailed to Los Angeles, arriving May 28th. Lieutenant Commander Wallace Chesbro is buried in Rosencrantz National Cemetery in San Diego. His memorial is located at the intersection of Main Street and Weano Avenue in Osterville.
On January 6, 1943, the wife of Technical Sergeant Joseph Barboza of Osterville received word that her husband was reported as having been killed when his airplane crashed about 65 miles east of Wendover, Utah. He was one of 6 members of an 11-member bomber crew killed when their 4-engine plane crashed in Utah. Many years later, a young man named Glenn Southam, who'd been told of the plane crash, became interested in mountain climbing. After many tries, he found the wreckage of the plane. He also found the dog tags of Technical Sergeant Joseph Barboza, traced the family name to Osterville, and returned the dog tags to a very grateful family. Technical Sergeant Joseph Barboza's memorial is located at the intersection of Bumps River Road and Osterville West Barnstable Road, close to the family home.
Richard C. Archer was graduated from Barnstable High School, class of 1964. His yearbook states that Dick was always seen driving half the school to a game or a dance in his car. He is a real gentleman. He plays soccer and collects popular record albums. He played hockey and starred in track. He was inducted into the Barnstable High School Athletic Hall of Fame. Dick Archer was the first Barnstable resident killed in the Vietnam War. He was a machinist 2nd class, serving in the Navy on board the USS Mansfield, and he was killed on September 25th, 1967, at the age of 23. His ship, a Navy destroyer, was in the Gulf of Tonkin and was attacked by a shore battery of North Vietnam guns. The guns made a direct hit on the ship, and the shrapnel penetrated an area where Archer was working. He was killed instantly. He had just returned from Hyannis, where on his 30-day leave, he married Janet Louise McLaughlin. A shipmate recalls that Dick Archer even brought his commanding officer a piece of the wedding cake. Machinist 2nd class Dick Archer is buried in Oak Neck Cemetery, Hyannis. His memorial boulder is located at the intersection of Scudder Avenue and Pitcher's Way in Hyannis.
Richard Emil Olson was born on September 24, 1945 in Hyannis. He graduated from Barnstable High School in 1963. While in high school, he participated in the drama club for all 4 years, and he attended speech festivals. His yearbook notes, "There's no doubt he will eventually succeed." At the time of his death in Vietnam, Richard was a staff sergeant in the 9th Cavalry, 1st Cavalry Division. He started his tour in Vietnam in September 1968 and was killed as the result of small arms fire on February 23, 1969. Dick Olson was 23 years old. He's buried in Mosswood Cemetery, Kituitt, and is remembered on the Vietnam Memorial in Washington on panel W31, line 14. Richard Emil Olson's memorial is located at the intersection of South Street and Old Colony Boulevard in Hyannis.